Welcome to Leopard's first ever build video. Today, we'll be taking a look at what I've been using for King's Fall with my hunter. I will start this video by saying there is no best build in Destiny, but that's what you typed into YouTube and here you are. So what have I been using for King's Fall since it's been out for less than a week on my solar hunter? Well, let's take a look at the most important part. Your subclass. Your Solar 3.0 subclass. This build revolves around crutching on extending your restoration from your healing grenade, which keeps you alive, and from Radiant, which gives you extra weapon damage given to us by this fragment called Ember of Torches. All that you see here should be able to be unlocked by any player in the game, and that is why I want to focus on it, because a lot of builds get into requiring players to have weapons or mods they might not have. So starting with the aspects, you basically choose the one that is not Gunpowder Gamble, because it only has one fragment slot. These two, On Your Mark and Knock 'em Down, have two fragment slots. Oh, sorry, On Your Mark has three, Knock 'em Down has two. I made a mistake. Gotta start the whole video over? No! We move on. So with these 5 fragments, you can make a build that, as long as you continue to get solar weapon kills or solar ability kills, you can keep your healing and increased weapon damage up. So, Ember of Torches, every time you do your melee, and I use Knife Trick because of the, I just like the Scorch and the fact that I don't have to aim it and it hits a bunch of stuff. The Knock 'em Down aspect will give me back my melee every time my melee ability kills. Every time I'm meleeing, the torches are giving me Radiant, which is giving me increased weapon damage, and my healing grenade, Restoration. So every time I get a melee kill or a solar weapon kill, the Empyrean continues that Radiant and Restoration buff. Gambler's Dodge, in case I lose my melee, dodging near an enemy gives my melee back. And these other fragments are less... well, Solus is pretty important because you have a longer Restoration and Radiant base when you first apply them, and then the Empyrean's going to extend them. Singeing and Ashes, these could be different, but that's what I use. Super, we'll get into that later because I think it depends on what encounter you're at in King's Fall. So, how does this build work? Solar weapon and ability kills. What is your favorite solar energy primaries? I like Callus Mini Tool with Enhance Incandescent. Maybe you don't have that. There's also Ogma, BXR Battler. There's a bunch of solar primaries. Choose your favorite. For the heavy slot, it depends on what encounter you're at. The opening, you can use anything. For totems, which is the first encounter, not the opening, I like to run G-Horn because it ad clears incredibly well. And if anyone on your team is running Aeon Swifts to generate heavy on finish, you can spam G-Horn, and after throwing your healing grenade down, this will just keep you alive on the plate. No problem. If you happen to have Tiku's Divination, great a solar ad clear. I don't have any exotics equipped for this solar hunter build because it kind of doesn't really matter. I guess if you're going for absolute max damage. You put on Star Eater scales, and you get ×4 Feast of Light by picking up orbs. War Priest, you'd run Blade Barrage. It's the most super causing damage in the game. But I like to typically run Aeon, so my team always has heavy with them. If you're having survivability issues, Assassin's Cow, if you have, it's always a great answer. Because every powered melee kill makes you invis and heals you. But for now, we're just not having any exotics on. In the kinetic slot, usually a precision weapon special. I run either my Succession Snipe or Arbalist for any shields or penetrating any like night shields that block my shots. And I guess the only thing to mention is how my loadouts change per encounter. So for the opening, it doesn't really matter. I use a sword just to zoom around and help with my jumps. For the totem ships, switch to Sompies because I suck at hunter jump, even though I main hunter. Totems. Like I said, G-Horn, any solar, heavy. Xeno is goated. Haven't used it yet though, but as you can imagine, getting solar kills with your healing grenade down with Empyrean is going to constantly give you healing. And you're going to stay alive easy. Totems also has an Unstoppable, the only champion in the game, so I have on my Inferno Whip from the artifact. But after Season 18, that won't be there. And like I said, the kinetic slot, I just put on a precision weapon. If I have a G-Horn on, obviously, not Arbalist, just Sniper. Please take notes. It'll be on the test later. What's the next encounter? War Priest. I go with my God rolled Cataclysmic with Enhanced Bait and Switch, 4th time's Charm, and Arbalist. You might not have this, but the advantage of Solar on this build is extending your restoration. For damage, the advantage is being able to use what we haven't talked about yet, which is the mods in the combat slot of my armor. Combat slot is the 4th slot on your armor. It does things like elemental wells, charged with light, and you may have forgotten about them. Warmind cell mods. I use elemental wells primarily. Only. And my general... The reason I don't want to talk about this too much is because if you haven't played Destiny nonstop for the last 5 years, you don't have everything over here. You don't have all the exotics. You don't have all the elemental well mods. You got to go to some vendor and show up every day to see if you got all this crap unlocked in order to follow builds that you see on YouTube. And so I don't want to focus on it too much, but if you just happen to have everything, then we'll go through it. I think the best thing to start off with for elemental well mods, I guess let me start with the mods in general. Rule of thumb currently in the game, Season 18, is 100 discipline, or sorry, 100 resilience to give you 40% damage reduction. Helps you stay alive. Yeah, you got the restoration keeping you alive on the solar subclass side, but damage resistance, every shot that hits you, always gonna be reduced. Very important. Nothing else in cooldowns matter if you use this build correctly, because everything is spammable, except for your super. So if you lose your melee, you dodge near an enemy with Gambler's Dodge, get your melee back. If you melee something and it kills them, your melee's back. Cooldowns don't matter. Your grenade, I guess, would not be spammable. And that's why my arms are solar, because you can apply impact induction. So doing damage with my melee reduces my cooldown on my grenade, gives me my healing grenade back in case I lose my restoration, which invariably I do. Utility kickstart on my stasis class item for my if I need to spam dodge. and that's one thing I forgot to mention. Wow, I'm terrible. Is I like to use Ember of Singeing, the fragment, because whenever I hit my melee, which is Knife Trick that scorches enemies, Singeing is giving my class ability back. So if I happen to melee and I don't kill, my class ability is coming back super fast because my melee has singed something, and I can spam the melee to get my melee back to keep the chain going. Destiny 2 is all about looping those abilities constantly. So, Impact Induction, Kickstart for dodge to come back faster. Of course, crutching on this season's damage reduction, Void, Solar Arc, Double Solar Arc. Now, combat mod slot wise. Oh, and then Harmonic Siphon for an Orbital Light, but an Orbital Light on a Solar subclass with a Solar Weapon. But I mean, it doesn't really matter because you'll get your super between every damage phase anyway. Combat mod slots, Elemental Wells. You probably don't have them all, but in case you do, we start off with how are we making wells? Explosive Well Maker. That's gonna be occasionally done because any GL or any rocket will make wells. Obviously, right now I don't have that loadout on, but as we go through the encounters, I sometimes put on GL. But primarily, it's of course Melee Well Maker. Cost 4, doesn't have any element associated with it. I put it on my chest piece for Hunter. So every time my punch kills something, a Solar Well pops out because I'm on a Solar subclass. That's going to proc my Well of Life, which I put on my legs, give me slow healing in case I ever lose my restoration. And I have Time Dilation, which is stasis. And I have Font of Might on my helmet. So now, every time I melee something, I'll have an extended Font of Might, which is giving me a solar weapon boost. And I'm getting a decrease in my cooldowns for my abilities if none of them are up every time I pick up a solar well. So now, my Callus mini tool, or whatever my solar primary is, or whatever my solar heavy is, has a Font of Might solar weapon boost. It has a Radiant, where's Radiant at? A Radiant subclass damage boost. And I'm getting the spam healing and extend that healing and that Radiant damage boost because of the subclass. So that is the basis of my combat mod slots. And if you don't have all those, it's not really a big deal because you're really crutching on what shows up on the screen. Period. Like this is all you really need along with solar weapons. And you can survive practically anything as long as your teammates don't steal all your kills. Encounter-wise, excuse me. Encounter-wise. I feel like I've started this discussion twice and I went backwards. Totems. A good ad clear in the heavy slot. Xeno, Galley, LMG, or Tikus if you don't have any of those. Surely you have a solar LMG. Help you stay alive. War Priest. Biggest damage right now. Linears. Some people are saying Whisper of Worm. But obviously solar weapons, solar linears, super hot. What's after that? Maze, Golgoroth. Same thing. Pull the gaze with an Arbalist or solar or a linear shot. Add clear a little bit important depending on your comp, whatever your other teammates are running for Kingsfall. Usually got a couple Warlock Wells. People throwing healing grenades. Remember to throw healing grenades on your teammates. You can also kill Thrall that rush you during Golgoroth to get the Font of Might Solar Well to give you damage boost on your solar weapons. Does Font of Might give you a higher damage boost than High Energy Fire? Hey, that's a great question that someone who typed in best solar build for Kingsfall might ask. And if you're not super knowledgeable in Destiny, that's a fair question to ask because Destiny's super complicated because buffs and debuffs stack in weird ways. So damage buff wise, Radiant. Typically during a damage phase in Kingsfall, you're going to drop a well. You're going to be standing in a Warlock Well. typically. That gives you Radiant tier 2 or whatever it is. Your powered melee Radiant doesn't matter because it gets overridden by Well of Radiance. High Energy Fire does not stack with Well of Radiance. And so having both doesn't do anything. Well of Radiance overrides it. It's a higher buff. It's a tier 2 buff. High Energy Fire, tier 1 buff. Font of Might, however, is specific to solar weapons, and it's on a different... it's stackable with everything. Font of Might stackable with practically everything in the game. If you can ever proc Font of Might to give you a damage boost for the weapons that match your subclass, it'll always boost you if you're in a well, Weapons of Light, whatever. It'll stack with High Energy Fire. High Energy Fire does not stack with Well of Radiance. So, yeah. Now, back in the day, season 17, there was this weird High Energy Fire Radiance bug where Well of Radiance didn't stack with High Energy Fire, but the powered melee Radiant did. But that's been fixed. It's old time. It's no longer a thing. So yeah, fair question. Golgoroth, stand in the well. Remember to throw your healing grenade for your teammates. Throw your punch to get your solar wells out. A lot of times during DPS, you can't move around. So if you have it, obviously switching to an arc piece of armor and have seeking on, so you have to move around and those solar wells just come to you, so you continue to get your Font of Might buff with your solar weapons. It's great. I don't really run that because I don't like to be perfect. After that is the D wall into sisters. Daughters rather, are non-boss enemies. On non-boss bosses, they're considered elites, and they take a lot of rocket damage. So your loadout will be someone on your team with a G-Horn, and everyone else running regular rocket. G-Horn will give all of the rockets Wolfpack rounds. And on our last one, we had someone with a chill clip rocket. And so every Wolfpack round was doing chill clip shatter damage. Super melt. Do I have that recorded still?
Copy.
Oh yeah, right here. Look at this. Look at this melt on this daughter.
Do you?
Someone shot a chill clip rocket. Watch this. It fell twice as fast as normal. Look at that. Gone.
What the?
Where did she go?
Copy.
Someone should have shot that chill clip first, and then we should have waited. And G-Horn and all the other rockets. And super fast. So that's daughters. Yeah, use rockets to turn your brain off. Easy peasy. And then back to Oryx. Again, I use just Arbalist or a Sniper. Precision. And a solar. Oh, I forgot to say. During daughters, I do switch it up. I actually switch off of a solar primary weapon. I switch to my Forbearance. I switch to an arc energy because there are so many arc shielded Centurions that spawn around the plates. And of course, Forbearance, Wave Frame, GL, Chain Reaction is goated. I do lose out on extending my Restoration and Radiant, but it's no big deal because everything's always dead. Thanks, Forbearance. And then, of course, a Sniper for handling the snipers on the plate outside of the plate spawns is huge. But then Oryx, back to the old tried and true. Solar Linear. If you don't have a Solar Linear and you're looking for best Solar Hunter build in Kingsfall, and we're doing DPS, Whisper of the Worm. And if you don't have a Solar Linear, it's probably time to go get one before you raid. I don't know. Yeah, if you have Sleeper, Whisper is so bad. There's been some Whisper tests. There's been some whispers of whispers. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. Sleeper is huge, though. I should try a Sleeper for a run for sure, chat. Whisper nearly one phases. Issue is the ammo. Yeah, it's Oryx. Golgoroth has one finishable yellow bar for Aeons. Warpriest has a bunch. Oryx has none. Daughters has None, but Daughters is whatever. Whisper can't get orcs through Final Stand. A team full of Whispers can't get orcs through Final Stand. Whisper nearly won phases with 13 bombs. See, that's not as good. You're still gonna do fine. You're still gonna do fine. Just don't have everyone on your team using Whisper. You're still not gonna be made fun of. And again, back to this build, like, this build is about survivability and decent damage if you're perfectly spec'd. But as long as you have these things applied, you're going to stay alive if you have a solar primary and you're spamming your melee correctly. DPS-wise, if you got all the normal linears out in the game right now, you know, Taipan has a quest where you can craft and get a really nice like a triple tap firing line roll. There's Storm Chaser from Duality. Like, just put on your favorite linear. You're gonna do fine while standing in a well. Like, it's fine. What else for Oryx? Yeah, Healing Grenade for me has been goated since Classy Restoration went away from Season 17, where you could just dodge and use the artifact mod from the artifact on your class item to get you Restoration. Now, Healing Grenade for me is huge. Oryx has the part in between damage phases, the Thunderdome or Dark Souls, where you don't heal, like your health doesn't restore. So having a Healing Grenade is nice in there. I guess for me, I can add clear extremely well with Mini Tool with Incandescent. Add clear may be an issue for other people who don't have like a goated energy primary. What's linear? That's true. If you're new to Destiny, you might not know what the word linear means. I mean linear fusion rifle in the heavy slot. So these weapons right here, anything under here. Cataclysmic Adept? Yeah, I don't do Master Vow. No thanks. Bump in the Night with Chill Clip would be ideal. I want to get a raid with 5 chill clips and a galley. Oh, I guess 4 chill clips, a galley, and a div. See how much damage that does. Where do you get the Solar Callus mini tool? Season 17 seasonal stuff? It's going away? At some point. Hey, how you doing? I'm going live on Destiny 2. Oh, you're about to start your stream. That's great. Hey, that's cool, man. How do you get better loot? Man, you just keep streaming. You'll get it. Chill Clip only works for 1 or 2 people. Oh, if it works for 2, that'd be great. No div, use Void Hunter Super for debuff. Div's better. Except, I guess with rockets, you don't have to hit the crit, do you? Is Hunter Tether debuff and Div debuff both 30? So the only reason you use Div is for hitting the cage for easier crits. Only just started playing Destiny 2, so much to take in. Yes, if you watch this best solar hunter build for Kingsfall video and you're confused, well, just show up to twitch.tv/Leopard and spam your questions and spam your questions in chat. I totally won't make fun of you. Div can last longer. Man, if I had a nickel, I wish I was more like Div. All right, that's gonna probably end the my first ever build video. Let me know what you thought of it and if it was good or not. Thanks.